If you are finding your way to confidence in relationships and you are finding that you are bouncing bad relationship to bad relationship, you are not alone. This is not unique to you. This is a pattern and it can be changed. And it usually starts with really analyzing your anxious attachment. Are you tired of the mental chatter, the counting, the restricting, the punishing? Are you done standing in front of the mirror picking yourself apart? Done waiting until you're thinner or more motivated or finally feel ready before you start actually living your life? Good, because confidence isn't something you earn, it's something you decide. Welcome to Your Unapologetic Life, your go-to podcast for women who are ready to stop shrinking and start showing up fully in the body they have right now. I'm your host, Morgan Barkis, author, speaker, exotic dance instructor, and empowerment coach for women. I earned my master's degree in marriage and family therapy while stripping to pay for graduate school. And I enjoyed the work so much, I ended up dancing for over a decade. Now I coach women who are ready to flip the negative self-talk, rewrite the stories that have kept them playing small, and feel powerful and confident in their bodies without the strict diets, soul-crushing workouts, and another quick fix that never really actually works. This is not positive affirmation confidence. This is confidence embodied. Every episode is designed to help you ditch the insecurities, reclaim your body, and live like the unapologetic woman you were always meant to be. Whether I'm flying solo or bringing you a raw, unfiltered conversation with remarkable women, this is your space to be honest, get free, and get loud. Turn up the volume, listen at 1.5 speed while you're doing other things, and strap in because me, I'm a crazy driver. Let's get into this episode. You are catching me in my sweatpants. I spent a wonderful day in the city of Chicago. I live just outside the city in the burbs, the western burbs. It's always nice to get home. It's quiet out here. And I have a garage and a balcony, patio, balcony, whatever. I got home and I decided to get in the sweatpants, brush my teeth, wash my face, and record a podcast. I had a delightful day. I went to the Soho House and worked out. They have a beautiful gym on the second floor. And then I went up to the trainer there. He works out of the Soho House. And I went up to him and I was like, look, I do body confidence. You transform bodies. What's your Instagram? I've gotten better at telling people about what I do because for a long time I felt like I wasn't sure exactly what I had to offer or how I could help, and recently took on a few clients. There were 8 women total that reached out to me. 5 have gotten started, and we've been doing coaching. And it's been absolutely delightful because there's a common theme in many ways, and everyone has different circumstances. And really figuring out that confidence covers so much. It's a domino effect. It's not like I build confidence in one area. It's something that trickles into all areas of your life, and you're always improving and fluctuating. So I think about, I'm extremely confident, like saying, hey, I don't really care for this dish. Like, it's really not what I want. Can you help me look at something else? Or, hey, this steak is not done the way I prefer. I really need to put that on the grill a little bit more. Whereas some people will just sit there and eat something that is disgusting to them or that they don't prefer. I'll walk into a restaurant and someone will sit me at a table and I'll be like, hey, I don't mean to be a pain in your neck, and I really don't want to sit at this table. What about that table right there? Like I just don't have a problem doing something like that, and I never have. And yet I had a lot of confidence building I needed to do in terms of feeling confident in my body and confident with my relationship with food. More recently, I would say more confident in my relationship with men. And I had to learn to be more confident in what I wanted and how I wanted a relationship to look so that I could be more confident in that relationship because I didn't feel confident when it came to relationships. I was willy-nilly and it was reflective of the men that I was attracting into my life. Very willy-nilly, no particular path, intentions, and it ended up hurting me in the end. And so it was getting confident in that area that I could be a lot happier. And even if that meant being alone, that meant really feeling confident in what I had decided for myself moving forward. And I say that because one of my clients is going through something. She's in a bit of a situationship, if you will. And I have been talking to her about what she wants because the reality is you let many people pass in and out of your life, friends, partners, love affairs, and sometimes even family pass in and out of our lives if that's how that works. And there's a certain season for different relationships. And again, if you don't know exactly what you need, what you have a boundary around, then it's very permeable, right? And so people that are not necessarily good for you are just in your life and they are having an effect on your emotions. And until you decide what kind of relationship you want and you become that for yourself. So one of the things that really hit home for me at the end of 2025 into 2026, I listened to the book Calling in the One and I listened to it twice. I bought a physical copy too. When I really like a book, I like to have it an audiobook and a physical copy. I have that with the book Love Life by Matthew Hussey. I have the physical copy and the audiobook, as well as the Midnight Library. That book hit home in so many ways. I actually ended my one and only serious relationship because of that book, and not completely because of that book. That book solidified what I already felt. There is a story in the book where the main character plays out a scenario in which she would have married the guy she decided not to marry. And she is basically regretting it and thinking, I could have had this other life and I should have married him. And she got to see that story play out and realizing that it wasn't all that happy for her. He had not been a good partner in many ways. And she was living a life that she didn't really find fulfilling. And I thought, oh my, if I stay in the current relationship I'm in, one of us is going to have to give up what we want and where we want to live, how we want to live, and it will be me because I'm the one always making concessions. And it was a huge wake up call for me. And then, like I said, I listened to Calling in the One, and I like that she talks a lot about becoming the woman who. So you get to decide who you want to be. Who is that woman? Like, who is the woman in the relationship she wants? So that's also then defining what the relationship you want is and feeling really confident in that and accepting nothing into your life except for that and also becoming that. So if you want a generous partner, you become generous with yourself. If you want a romantic partner, you become romantic with yourself. If you want a kind partner, a thoughtful partner, you become those things for yourself because like attracts like, right? And for instance, I decided that I was going to get myself flowers more often because to me, it's something that some folks would argue is a complete waste of money. And I don't agree. I think it's delightful and beautiful, and it may last 5 days, 7 days. And you end up throwing them in the garbage after a certain amount of time, and they make a bit of a mess sometimes. Recently, I had um, a bit of bunch of flowers, and there were lilies in there. I'm not a huge fan of lilies, and when I bought the bouquet, didn't realize they were in there. And when they opened up, there were little yellow pollen marks everywhere all over my white coffee table, and I don't love the smell. So I was like, "Okay, those have to go." And the Gerber daisies lasted much longer though. They really hung in there. I was proud of them. Peonies are my all-time favorite. I have a tattoo of peonies. Screensaver and wallpaper on my phone are peonies. I'm a big fan. Anyway, and I thought, why not be romantic with myself? I even went as far as to get myself flowers for Valentine's Day and wrote myself a card. And I saw it the other day and I was like, what is this card from? And it was in my handwriting. And I had forgotten that I wrote it to myself as if it was a partner writing it to me and what I would want a partner to write. And there was a poem in there, a Rumi poem. And the crazy thing is, I love how the universe works. The crazy thing is, the Rumi quote was lovely. And I wrote that February of this year, right? 2026. And it was in March of 2026 that I went to Morocco to visit my soul sister, and she had a book on her bookshelf that was called The 40 Rules of Love. For me, I was drawn to it right away. I have a master's in marriage and family therapy, and I thought, ooh, if we're talking about love and relationships, count me in, because you have the John Gottman book, the five love languages, anything that has to do with love. I'm like all over it, right? I love love. And I was curious. So I was looking through this book and starting to read it. And she ran upstairs at one point and came back down and handed me another copy of the book. So she gave me a copy of this book. Well, as I'm reading it, I mean, I didn't think anything of it at the time. It's the story of Rumi and how he became a poet. And so when I saw the Valentine's card, I wrote to myself with a Rumi quote in it, like yesterday. I thought, wait a second. And I just thought, wow, it is so cool how life is just this spider web that just gets bigger and bigger and connects in ways that you didn't even realize it was going to connect. And what am I talking about? I don't know. I'm all over the place here with the relationship stuff. Back to my client. She was asking me today. So what I do with my coaching, we do a lot of voice notes back and forth because it's hard to save everything you want to talk about for one therapy session, right? And again, I am not a therapist, I'm a coach. And I remember when I used to go to therapy and I would be having a moment and I'd be crying and I'd feel all the feelings. And then by the time I got to my therapy session, I wasn't feeling all those feelings and I can't recreate those feelings. And my therapist wasn't good enough to bring out those feelings in me and ask the right questions. So therapy was helpful to some degree at the time, and it wasn't always terribly effective because it wasn't in the moment. And what I love about the coaching, I'm crafting how I'm going to coach and the women I'm working with and learning what they're going through and how I can be of help. And really, it's cool to do voice notes because it's stuff happening in real time. So if my client gets a text um, from this person that she is in a situation with, she can text me. She can send a voice note. This morning she sent one and she was like, "Hey, look, I spiraled. I wasn't sleeping. I was in my head thinking, how come he didn't text this? And why didn't he like that? And is he still interested?" And she asked me, how do I stop the spiral? My anxious attachment is all over the place and upside down and inside out, and what do I do? And basically, when you are anxious, you want to get out of your head and back into your body. So a couple things we talked about was um basically emotionally regulating and soothing yourself. So how do you soothe yourself? And for me, I told her it was blasting classical music and walking on a nature trail that's near my apartment. If that is not something I can do in the moment, it's nighttime or it's just pouring rain or something, obviously I can't do that. So I would blast classical music and journal. Um, I have a stuffed animal, my alley cat, I've had since I was 8 years old or around there. And sometimes I just need a hug, and that my alley cat is who is available. Never named him. Always thought it was a male cat and an alley cat. That's all I know. He doesn't have much stuffing left in the neck because I slept with him for many, many years, and I basically put him in a headlock all the night long. Um, and what else do I self soothe? So I have this thing that my friend shared with me, another college friend of mine. She's living in Minnesota. And once in a while, we check in with each other via DMs on Instagram. And she sent me something not too long after the breakup from the one serious relationship I had that I mentioned. And it the message basically says, "What is meant for you will never leave you. Like nothing meant for you will disappear." And I find that soothing when I read that thing and I say that to myself over and over again because it's true. The only person I can control is me, my actions, my thoughts, and what someone else does is out of my control. So I can spiral and cry about it and it will do nothing. So that is another self-soothing activity that I do. And also clear communication. So another thing that you can do to help your anxious attachment is to become more secure. The cool thing about the attachment styles is that they are fluid, and just because you are one now doesn't mean it's forever. It's not a personality disorder. So if you are in some kind of relationship and you're the gal that's not yet confident in relationships and choosing relationships that are healthy for you, if you are still in that situation, testing the waters by communicating in a secure way. And so, what I mean by that is if you have a feeling, say that feeling. Don't feel bad about it. Don't overanalyze it. Don't rewrite the text 17 times. If you are thinking a thing, say it. I am feeling this when you do that. I feel this. I feel that. Do not use accusing language. You never do this. How come you're not doing that? Why this or that? You can only speak to you for you. I am feeling this. When you do this, I feel that. Can we talk about it? So a secure person can say something to someone and have no attachment to the other person's reaction. Or I was in a relationship with someone who was extremely reactively attached. And so anytime he felt triggered, anytime I would ask him a question or share my feelings, he would often get very upset, get very defensive, and somehow it would turn into something way bigger than it needed to be. And because I was so anxious, then I would shut down or start crying. And it was just this cycle that went on and on. And so, again, you can't control anyone else. You can only control yourself. So if you're interacting with someone and you are in conversation with this person, do your best to communicate from a secure place. And secure means not attached to how the other person reacts or what the other person says. Speaking your truth, kind, I feel statements, that's it. You are not attached to the outcome, the other person's reactions, what they say. You take care of you. You are secure in you. I am safe. I am okay. What is meant for me will never leave. Who is meant for me will never lash out at me, be cruel, say mean things, um, gaslight me. Like you have to, again, the self-soothing then comes in too, because even if you securely communicate, that person may ignore you, get super nasty, gaslight. Now we have to disengage from all communication because that's not healthy. Or if they don't respond to you at all, then you go back to your self-soothing rather than begging, chasing. If you are finding your way to confidence in relationships and you are finding that you are bouncing bad relationship to bad relationship, you are not alone. This is not unique to you. This is a pattern and it can be changed. And it usually starts with really analyzing your anxious attachment. Another skill that you can use when you're anxious and you're spiraling and your heart is racing, you're feeling sick to your stomach, you're thinking, well, maybe if I text more and explain what's going on, and pretty soon you're like 17 texts deep with no response. Yikes. Not yikes like you're terrible, you're wrong, you shouldn't have done that. No, yikes. Disengage from that situation, get back into your body and out of your head, self soothe, and think about whatever you're feeling, what thought created that feeling. Ask yourself if that feeling is true. Do you know it to be absolutely true? Who are you in this feeling? What is the opposite thought? The opposite thought. And what if that thought could be true? What would that feel like? And then say that thought over and over again. That's a skill I did get from a therapist. I knew of it and I learned more about it through Byron Katie's work called The Work. And my therapist, who was this like old school dude, like when I got him, I was like, do I really want a guy that's like 100 years old and talks this slow? And I was frustrated at first because he wasn't listening to my saga because I wanted to be like, and he did this and then he said that. And I can't believe, and this guy was not having any of it. He was like, what are you feeling right now? And I told him, he goes, okay, I need you to track these. I want your notes in your phone, or what do you need to do? He's like, every time you have a feeling, I want you to name the feeling. And then I want you to backtrack. What is the thought that caused that feeling? And then I need you to write the opposite. And then I need you to repeat that over and over and over. And I was like, okay. Because really, anxious attachment comes from a story. So think of something that happened in your life where you created a story around it. So let's say, usually anxious attached folks had something in their childhood or young adulthood where something happened that you were abandoned or iced out for some reason. And the other person may or may not even know they said anything or did anything that made you feel rejected or feel abandoned. And that is what you took it to be. You felt very lonely in that moment. You felt abandoned in that moment. And it was a loved one, so it scared you. So if I do this thing again, this is going to happen again. So I'm never going to do that thing again. So usually that means sharing your feelings, making a mistake, speaking up for yourself, saying what you need, and well, that's not important, your needs don't matter. I mean, who knows? I don't know. But for whatever reason, you spoke up for yourself. You shared a need, a desire, a want, a pain. You did or said something that a loved one basically rejected, ignored, shot down. And again, that person maybe, I make it sound nasty. Sometimes these people have no idea. They're just reacting in the moment. They're stressed. They're upset about something else. They're not even thinking that it was a big deal to you. And we as kiddos take on a lot of things and we don't even understand that we took them on in the moment. And so for me, you dissect those things and you figure out, wait, where did that story come from? Where did I feel abandoned, rejected, left alone? And forgiving whatever situation that was and figuring out where it came from, because sometimes the origin story is good to know. That's where, therapy can be good, to go through those stories. And then the coach is like, okay, great, now we know that, now what? Like, let's get in the game and let's fix this. Where I'm a very solution focused person. When I did go to school for therapy, my favorite of the theories was solution focused therapy, because I really like, I don't want to dig around in the past forever. Like, I want to know why I'm doing something. Like, where's the connection? Okay, cool. Now what? Like, I'm a now what kind of person. And that's where I come in with the coaching. It's like, okay, let's figure out where this came from. Okay. Let's at least we know where it came from. And that's helpful. And how are we going to move forward? What are we going to do now? What are the skills we're going to, because that was then, this is now. What do you want your life to look like now? How can we rewrite that story? How can we help you self-soothe when the anxiety comes up? How do we rewrite those thoughts? Because we wrote the story back then and we get to rewrite the story now. Like, you have the power of choice and you get to choose. And you're a grown ass woman now. You get to do whatever you want. You get to eat what you want. You get to go where you want to go. You can vacation where you want to vacation. You can get the house you kind of want to get, the car you want to drive. You get to do whatever you want, including rewrite your stories. Like everything is in your power and is your choice. And it takes practice. I mean, let's be real. I don't care if it's food, working out, or the thoughts you choose. It's so much easier to do the easy thing, which is nothing, or the easy, quick choice. And to make a healthier choice usually takes more effort. It's quite simple. It's either this or that. It's not necessarily easy, right? And it takes more conscious. Like it's so easy to think something negative because that's what you've always thought. Or it's easy to assume that thing because that's what you've always assumed. And what if the opposite is true? You know? I was chatting with another gal the other day and she was spiraling over some anxious thoughts, and we turned them around, and I told her something, and she's like, I never thought of it that way. Well, good. Now start telling yourself that instead of all the freaked out negative stuff you were telling yourself, stuff worrying about things that never even happened. She was spiraling over something that didn't even happen and may never happen. So the anxiety is very real. I'm not minimizing your anxiety. I've had a ton of it. Around relationships, especially. The queen of anxious attachment over here. I have a friend who is a therapist. She got licensed as a therapist after we graduated from graduated with our master's degree. She's an outstanding therapist. She's a great friend of mine. And there's been many a times where she's, Morgan, take a deep breath. And then we would start talking because she knew my anxiety. I was just like ramping up as I was talking. And it was just a reminder to take a deep breath, slow down, and let's look at this differently. All right, I've talked enough. I'm getting tired over here. It's way past my bedtime. Usually I'm in bed like 8 p.m. and it is currently 9:13. I have to go. And lucky for me, I'm already ready for bed. Sometimes, when you're doing all the things and you're like, oh, and now I got to go take my makeup off and brush my teeth. And for me, that's already done. Yay. All right, I appreciate you being here and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. If today's episode hit you in your heart, please take a second and leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It helps more women like you find this show, and that is exactly the point. If you're ready to stop feeling self-conscious and start feeling like yourself again, grab my free guide, Self-Conscious to Sexy in 10 Minutes. It's a 4-step reset to get yourself out of your head and back into your body feeling confident and sexy. The link is in the show notes. Go to morganbarkus.com. You can explore everything else I have to offer, including my coaching program, my mission, and how you can work with me. Come find me on Instagram at Morgan Barkus and send a DM. I love hearing from you. Until next time, stay unapologetic.